All right, seniors, this is going to be the second writing lesson in the writing strand. What we're going to do is continue tonight to look at the kind of 5 essential brushstrokes. Again, these are the kind of five brushstrokes that will, at the sentence level, bring the power of show don't tell to your writing. All right, and we could call them the grammatical phrases that they are, but we're going to call them brushstrokes that you're thinking more like an artist than as a grammarian. All right. I do want to kind of like start off. We talked a little bit this last week. It is helpful to understand the essential elements of English language sentences, right? This sounds like it's going to be very boring and very complicated, but it's actually not. English is a language that actually is very, very, very simple in what essentially each sentence needs, all right? Some languages are very complicated. English, not so much. So whatever you hate about English, one thing that English has going for it is that it's very, very, very simple basic elements. The basic elements of every sentence, which you've probably heard before, are a subject, that is what a sentence is about, what it's talking about, and a main verb, that's what the thing that it's talking about is doing, all right? What this means is that the shortest possible sentence you could have in the English language is a 2-word sentence. 2-word sentences like McDonald's delivers, using a proper noun for the subject. Babies cry, using kind of a general noun for the subject. They work, using a pronoun for the subject, right? So the reason you can't go less than this is because if you went less than this, you would take out your subject or your main verb, right? Subject's in blue, that's a noun or noun phrase. Main verb is in orange. Now, like we were also talking about, even though in school you're kind of taught up to this point that nouns are like single word things, cat, dog, McDonald's, democracy, the way nouns actually work in language is that they're usually noun phrases. So these sentences kind of show that at work. Now, all the things that are highlighted are still the noun phrase, the subject, or the verb phrase or the main verb. But you can see you can extend it pretty much as you want or as much as makes sense in your writing. So you can say, instead of the McDonald's delivers, the McDonald's 3 blocks down the street from us delivers. Instead of babies cry, you can say wrinkly, smelly, useless babies cry. And you could go the other end, keep the short subject, but extend the verb phrase. And verb phrase can go on forever. McDonald's delivers on weekends and weeknights using the Uber Eats app service. I don't know if that's true. I think that's true. Babies cry all day for food, sleep, attention, etc. Don't really actually have anything against babies. Just couldn't think of anything to write for the example. All right. So how does this work? So what that means is that when you're really trying to understanding what's the subject and what's the main verb of your sentence helps you out with all sorts of things. And modifiers, what we're looking at, are basically just ways to layer on. If a basic sentence just has 2 parts, the subject and the main verb, right? What these modifiers, these brushstrokes allow you to do is, if you think about that as like the foundation layer of your sentence, then you can build all these additional layers and extras on top of the basic subject-verb sentence, right? So what I've done here is I've shown you the brushstroke we looked at last week, appositives, number 1. Those are kind of alternative noun phrases. And you can see, again, if you think about that blue and orange as that basic subject-verb part of the sentence, right? What these green modifier phrases do is layer on all this information while keeping that basic structure so that the reader doesn't get confused if they do it right, while getting so much more information than they had in a subject-verb sentence. So positives, brushstroke number 1, just a quick, that's where you give an alternative noun phrase, right, to define the subject. My example here, McDonald's, whoop, a giant international corporation profiting in salty, whoop, sugary, whoop, 1,000 calorie eats for busy folks with no time and not much more, I think I meant to say money, whoop, delivers. Quick reminder, there's 3 basic places in any basic sentence for modifiers. There's openers, an all-boy public school in the Bronx. Whoop. Eagle Academy was founded in 2006. There's Interrupters, Eagle Academy, whoop, an all-boy public school in the Bronx, whoop, was founded in 2006. Closers, like Eagle Academy, was founded in 2006, whoop, an all-boys public school in the Bronx. All right? So what to remember, we're going to keep practicing in positives, but remember that you almost always you have those three options as a writer, right? And if you look at those three sentences, and I kind of made them boring to show you that you don't just use these for like super descriptive writing, you can just use it for basic informational writing. But you can see you change the rhythm and kind of flow of a sentence a little bit by deciding whether you want that modifier to come at the beginning, come in the middle, come at the end, right? I actually think like my example right here, with McDonald's and delivers, that doesn't quite work, right? Because even if the interesting description I put in there, it actually has so much space in between the subject and the main verb that the reader might kind of forget what I was talking about. But it might work better if I put it at the end, so the reader gets the basic idea that it's like McDonald's, or it might work better if I put it at the beginning and the reader doesn't quite know what I'm talking about yet, and then they're like, oh, it's McDonald's he's talking about. Anyways. Okay, so brushstroke number 2, what we're going to look at tonight and practice tomorrow. This is called participle phrases or ing phrases. And you're going to see why ing phrases is a helpful way to think about it in a second. All right, these are 4 sentences that have not had the brushstroke added to them. All right, and so I want you to see them, remember them, and then think about the difference between the sentences with or without the brushstroke. So sentences without the brushstroke. 1. We could see the lake and the mountains across the lake on the French side. 2. Sado had his reward. 3. The sun rose clear and bright. 4. Spencer took half an hour. All right, so pretty boring sentences, right? Let's see how ing phrases liven them up. Sitting up in bed eating breakfast. Whoop. We could see the lake and mountains across the lake on the French side. Sado, whoop, searching the spot of black in the twilight sea that night, whoop, had his reward. The sun rose clear and bright, whoop, tinging the foamy crests of the waves with a reddish purple. Spencer took half an hour, whoop, swimming in one of the pools which was filled with the seasonal rain, whoop, waiting for the pursuers to catch up to him. All right, so look at that last one especially, right? That gives you such a good example. Spencer took half an hour. Boring sentence, right? Now, that half hour has been filled with all the activities that Spencer was doing, right? So what the basic pattern of this brushstroke is taking a verb, right? All of these are verbs. Sit, search, tinge, swim, wait. Making it into an ing word, what you call verbals, which it's too complicated to really go into. You don't need to understand it. It's just basically things that kind of act like verbs, seem like verbs, but have ings at the end, which kind of makes it a different category. Don't worry about that, right? But you see what I mean. Sit is a verb. Sitting is a participle. Search is a verb. Searching is a participle. Tinge is a verb. Tinging is a participle. Swim is a verb. Swimming is a participle, right? So that's why they're called participle phrases. They start with these weird ing words that are kind of like verb hybrids, right? So that's what a participle phrase is. That's brushstroke number 2. Thinking of a verb that illustrates something about your subject, right? And then creating a phrase by making it an ing word. All right, I want to keep going through this, but this kind of gives you some examples of, right? The main thing is that each of these participle sentences start with that ing word, right? So every participle phrase starts with an ing word, right? Minute fungi overspread the whole exterior, whoop, hanging in a fine tangled web work from the eaves. Standing there in the middle of the street, whoop, Marty suddenly thought of Halloween, whoop, of the winter and snowballs, whoop, of the schoolyard. Professor Kazan, whoop, wearing a spotlessly white tropical suit and wide brim hat, whoop, was the first ashore. This doesn't just work with ing words, it also works with, so these are present participles, that's kind of things happening in the present. You can also do it for things happening in the past. So a slight variation would be kind of ed words, right? Which again have the same structure. They're basically a verb that has been, an ed has been added to make a phrase. So the tent, whoop, illumined by candle, whoop, glowed warmly in the midst of the plain. Enchanted and enthralled, whoop, I stopped her constantly for details. The other shoji slammed open, whoop, and unseen, whoop, Buntaro stamped away, whoop, followed by the guard. Her hair, whoop, braided and wrapped around her head, whoop, made an ash blonde crown. So that's a different little kind of variation on it that kind of uses the same principle. All right, so what I want you to do for homework, bear with me. This might seem kind of like little kid's poem, but it actually really helps you learn and kind of get the participle thing down. All right, so I want you to write an I am poem. All right, and the I am poem is going to be made up of one kind of opening statement and then a bunch of participle phrases. Let me show you how you do it. There we go. Let's get it nice and big. Okay. All right, so first off, think of like any random object, animals, celebrity, objects kind of work well. I'm going to go with seltzer, right? Because I love seltzer. All right? So my poem about being is going to be called I Am a Seltzer Can. All right? You can do it as whatever, make it funny, doesn't matter. Okay? I am a seltzer can. All right, now, think of 5 verbs that are associated with whatever object, animal, celebrity you picked, right? So when I think about seltzer, I think of obviously drink, taste, sparkle, refresh, cool. All right. All right, so again, so once you have those verbs, then you create participle phrases by adding ings. Like, so I am a seltzer can. Let me see. I am a seltzer can. Tasting like, some people think it tastes like household cleaners. So I'll put that. Tasting like household cleaners. Sparkling like champagne. Woo. Refreshing in the too long summer heat. Woo. Cooling. Actually, no, it's cooling. Okay, sorry, my poetry is not here. Cooling and comforting. All right. Whoop. And final thing, I'm gonna say hydrating men who refuse to drink water, because I never drink water, right? So if I didn't drink seltzer, I'd probably die of dehydration. All right, here we go. So my poem, I am a seltzer can. And so each thing that follows from there is a participle phrase. I am a seltzer can, tasting like household cleaners, sparkling like champagne, refreshing in the too long summer heat, cooling and comforting, hydrating men who refuse to drink water. All right? That's how you write your I am poem. I want you to do the same thing I did. I embarrassed myself, so it's fine. You should embarrass yourself. Those steps again. Think of a subject for a poem. Objects, animals, celebrities work well for this. Number 2, think of 5 verbs that you would associate with the subject of your poem. Start your poem with I am blank, your subject. All right, create lines by turning your verbs into ing phrases. I want 5 lines for each of those 5 verbs. All right, bring that in tomorrow and we're going to practice. We'll talk more about how to practice those 4 exercises with brushstroke number 2. Anyways, bring that homework tomorrow and we're out.